My responsibility today is to introduce you to you from the inside out. You already have the outside mastered down. You got to make sure the shoes coordinate, the hairs in order. We got to make sure all of this. But nobody never took time to introduce you to you from the inside out.
And the first thing I learned that scared me was death starts in the colon. Remember they said that, Romunda? Death starts in the colon.
So tonight's a special evening for me. We have a beautiful soul in the house. Her name is Dr. Romunda Ings. She's a gut health expert all the way from Maryland, USA. So I just wanted to say thank you and welcome to Dr. Romunda Ings for joining us this evening. So tonight, our topic of discussion is about gut health. So gut health, if you're new to the aspects of healing your gut, which right now everybody's talking about that, we have a beautiful lady, Romunda, that's going to be talking about it. She's been an expert in the field for 15 years. And I can't wait for her to share her passion. If you hear her passion, it resonates to you, but she has a lot of expertise when it comes to colon health and, gut health. And I can't wait for her to share her story and why she's doing this today.
So I'll come to you by way of gut health, which is the overall health. Gut health, I prayed and asked God, okay, so for me to be in this industry of wellness, what is the target of you want me to focus on? Because you just don't get into wellness just to get into it. You got to understand the niche of it, because when you're talking about gut health, it goes a long ways. So, gut health is one of the things that most people don't even realize that your life is affected by what your gut is doing. The connection between your brain and your gut has a relationship. So when I was learning and with over the 15 years, my daughter's 27, all of her life and majority of my life. So wellness has been a part of my journey, because I was a grandma's girl that grew a garden in her backyard. So we used to eat from the garden, and not knowing as we got over time that the assignment was based on helping people to understand their digestive system. I went to school and studied and learned, and I was curious. I kept saying, and for some reason I would see people, feeling a certain type of way. And it's almost, you literally can hear them saying help. It's like the crowd for help was so powerful, but nobody was giving them the help they needed to have. And I think that became the beginning of my calling for helping people to understand the overall of wellness is what you put inside of your body, is how your body breaks it down. And we went, and it just started. And the more I started learning, the more I started getting around people, more I started learning through my own story and through my own testimony. I was already never a person that was eating crazy. I wasn't a late night eater. I don't recall. I didn't do pork and beef, and I don't, didn't do those things. So not realizing that your body was already in a stage of it could heal or it cannot heal. But people not realizing why they were sick, why they were feeling the way they were feeling, why the energy was drained, or why they dealing with headaches, or why they dealing with lower back issues. So those are the reasons why I got into it, Gillian, once I learned more about the body itself. If the thing about wellness, about how things trigger the body, it goes over a matter of time. And if you look at how the body is made and how the body was created, we have a tendency as women, we carry a lot of things, the weight of the world on our shoulders. We deal with a lot of emotional things. We got a lot of stuff going on. But I think and as I prayed and it was as God, as I learned and as I studied, a lot of this starts when we're at birth. It starts from birth. And then once we come out of the womb, it starts again. Because you got to remember, as a carrier, we're carrying, but what we put in our body, it not only affects us, but affect the child that we're carrying. Affect the direction that they're going, affected the lifestyle that they're going to have because of what we put in our bodies. And then as they come out of the womb, and their bodies have been so used to the liquid of foods and the things that they're supposed to have and the things they shouldn't have. When they come out of the body, we're ready to give them the foods that they can naturally chew. And we start giving children food at what, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, and the body's like, wait a minute, hold on, what you doing? Wait a minute, I'm still trying to learn to develop. I'm still trying to learn my responsibilities. I'm trying to learn, like, what am I supposed to do on my own? But we've been feeding it for so long through that tube that when the tube got a chance to, that body came and separated from the tube, it had to learn the responsibility. So now you're looking at being affected at birth, not only from birth, but then you look at from now you got to get your body is trying to, organs are trying to learn, what am I supposed to do? Just mechanicalism, understand what it's supposed to do. The chemical in the body is supposed to learn what it's supposed to do. So the brain is trying to function on how it's supposed to do, and the digestive system is trying to figure out what its responsibility. All your organs are trying to learn its own independence and what they're supposed to do to work together. But we throws it off by entering things into our bodies that don't even have anything to do with our bodies. We enter in things into our bodies when our bodies are trying to figure it out. So we like to make it comfortable. Then as we get young, we get at a certain age, we start learning how to not poop properly. We learn how to hold. If we playing, and you know, as kids, they like to play, and they say they got to go to the bathroom. They rather pee and mess their clothes up as opposed to go to the bathroom. You know, and then they learn the concept of holding. So then when they learn the concept of holding, now we got more problems that's about to accumulate from that point. If you look at each one of your ages times 365 days that we've been on this earth, this is what you have done to yourself day by day. For example, I always tell people, like, my age, I'm 57, God bless, you know, thank God for that age and that number. And I always say, well, I've been on this earth, I say, what, 57 times 365 days. I've been on this earth 20,805 days. 20,805 days. What have you done for 20,805 days of your life? Not years that add up to the 57, 60, or 40, 30, 60, or 20, or whatever. What have you done day by day for 20,805 days on this earth? So no, it's not a quick fix. It's a process, because we've been on this earth for so long in days. We just get to celebrate it throughout the year. From generation to generation, everybody ate the same way. They ran to the table and they prepared the same type of meal. For example, I can say, you know, we got 5, 6 generations on here. I can say you and I, Gillian, we sisters, and we see mom in the kitchen preparing the meal. So you could be taking on the notes of her preparing the meals. Right? So now if she learned to stop cooking that same meal, you start taking over. You start doing the same exact thing. But in her time, she used to go out to the garden, or she used to walk to the market, or they walked to prepare these things. And as time started accumulating, you started preparing the things because mama could no longer do it. So then you started taking over, and you made sure you wanted to have that same exact taste that mom had, because that's what we were all used to, generation from generation to generation. Most people have digestive issues. First and foremost, they don't take the time to chew the food. Secondly, people like to guzzle their meals. When they guzzle, they drink along with their meals. If you ever when you go to the restaurant, what is the first thing they do to you when you go to the restaurant? They put glass on your table, right? And then they come by with a pitcher of what? Ice water. You see? And you sitting there, you just going for it. You drinking it, not realizing that your saliva glands already are accumulating, developing, so they can prepare to do what? Break the foods down for you. The digestive juices, that's what the digestive juices is for, to break down the foods. But when you start drinking, you're actually diluting the enzymes that breaks down not only from your saliva, breaks down in your gut, you're diluting it. So now your food is just dead food. You see, so if you have something, say for example, you had a piece of food and you let it sit on a counter for years and years and years, look and see what happened to it over a matter of time. So you start seeing maggots, you might start seeing bugs and flies and stuff start laying, you know, things like that. So you start seeing things happen. So just imagine what happens if it's on the outside of your counter what you imagine what's going on inside of your gut. So
Wow.
you got all this rotten food, you got all this stuff rotten, and you got all the stuff is accumulating over years and years and years, and it's molding, and you got mold, and you got the bacteria that come from it. You got so cancer becomes the what? The target because of whatever's going on in your gut. And whatever organ is already having an emotional moment, at that moment gets attacked. So if you have an emotional moment and you something going on in your system, it's going to latch onto the weakest organ. So what
Wow.
do? We feed it what it likes instead of feeding what it needs. We feed it what it likes. So if you consistently giving something to your body over and over and over, the same exact thing over and over and over, which is not good for your body, then your body's going to respond to it a certain type of way because you're already depleted all the nutrients. If you're eating things that your body can't break down, and you're not taking the proper right kind of vitamins or supplements or whatever your case may be, or if you're drinking cold beverages or you like smoothies and drinking cold smoothies, you got to now go ahead and I tell people all the time, I got to go ahead now and defrost your gut. You defrost the freezer because you're
Wow.
constantly always been feeding it cold beverages, cold drinks, things like that. You're not digesting, you're not allowing your enzymes to digest properly like they should. Each organ has emotional attachment. So it depends on how you feeling and what you feeling in that moment. It could be stimulated from how you feel. So your organ, say for example, our breast cavity in our breast area, breast cancer is one of the highest, next to one of the highest causes of death, right? But they never look at the emotions of what we deal with on a day-to-day because our breast holds a lot of, our heart is right there. We grieve heavy. We got emotions of feeling, we got all these things that categorize in that area, which is known as our emotional tract. If you understand the chakras of the body. And then you go to the midsectional area, you got lower areas of the body where you could have been molested at a young age. And so your body has a lot, you got the job on your shoulders and you got the family on your shoulders and you got all these things going on in your body and your organs are trying to connect, but your emotions are overriding it. So where do you go? You become either alcoholic sometime, or you may become a smoker or get into drugs sometime, or you may become an overeater. You may like sweets a lot. It may drive you to something that's going to, so you look for something that's going to find comfort. You find something that's going to give you ease and relax you, make you feel good about who you are. You might do things that's not even appropriate, but it make you feel good. So your emotions will get you in a place that sometimes that cause you to not understand that I need to address what kind of, I might be having a hormonal issue. I might be having a chemical imbalance. Because you got to remember, we breathing this funky air here every day.
Yeah.
So your emotions has a lot to do with the physical, mental, the mental. A lady asked me, what does gut health and mental health have to do with each other? I said, it's a chemical imbalance. It's a chemical imbalance. We are walking time bombs about to tick. It's just a matter of when. It's how you feed it, is how it grows. When you stop feeding what it like, it'll stop growing. So when you have those problems and you're dealing with things like such as that, you have to understand that your body doesn't relate to the toxin because that's not how your body was made. You were not made to go through processes like that. You see? So you have to adjust yourself to an environment of finding peace. You have to find an environment of finding peace. When you find an environment of finding peace, then it'll make you feel better in your decision that you make. Because instead of you saying, I have control of the situation, no, the situation has a lot of control of us because we have weak vessels to the situation. So anything that you deal with, it targets from a lot from the gut because your gut has receptors. Your body has receptors in it. So if your receptors are not going on doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's because something has thrown off. It's like, for example, if you have electrical issues, one of your bulbs are working and the other one's not. That means somewhere down the line, something is blocked in that wire that is not giving that power what it needs to have. Same thing for the body. We have receptors. That's why when you go to the hospital, they add you to these machines, which is what? Electromagnetic machines. They attach you to these machines so they can scan what your system. They can see what your heartbeat is doing. They can look at how the blood is flowing because you have receptors that is located to a system. That's how they can deal your BMI. They can tell you what your blood pressure is like. They can tell you what your A1C is like because you're connected to what? You're to connect to a system. We're a system. As a tree, you have a spine, right? You're a tree. Remember, you're a tree. When God created the earth, he made a map. Every tree is made differently. So each one of us have a different specification of how we were created, how we were made. You know, you got a drop of this and a drop of that and a point of this and a point of that, and you may have this and that and that. We were all made differently. But when you look at the trees, there are roots in the bottom of those trees. And the thing that the tree need to have to grow is what? Sun, light. You know, we get the sunlight, we get the water. You know, you got the frequencies and vibrations. You can ask your body, should you do certain things? And your body will tell you no, but you ignore it. My responsibility today is to introduce you to you from the inside out. You already have the outside mastered down. You know, you got to make sure the shoes coordinate, the hair's in order. You know, we got to make sure all of this. But nobody never took time to introduce you to you from the inside out. And that's where I come in play, because I need to make sure you know who you are internally, because when the flesh is gone, it's your spiritual life that you need to focus on even the most. See, we lose on that because so when we crying and worry about losing people, I have learned through my story of losing loved ones that's been so close to me, I got spiritually connection. I got spiritually connected, not fleshly connected. And so when you're looking at, when you're losing people, we grieve, we go into a tendency of doing things that we have to find comfort in. We have to find our resolution in. So when the mind is saying, okay, you're going through this process, and the gut is like, well, don't do it because this is what's going to happen. We ignore those signs and signals, and that's what jacks us up every time. Because your body going to tell you what you should and should not do. Your body going to say, well, you know, don't do that. You be like, I'm not doing that. And so death be like, come on over here. You be like, I'm coming. And life be like, what about me? You be like, what about you, life? When death is like, I got this. Don't worry about that. It's like life and death is fighting with you for you to understand who you are. And so when you're fighting yourself, you're going to get just what you get. So it depends on how you write your story. How do you write your love life? How do you write your lifeline? You see? So but people, and because they never introduced themselves in life, death was always the answer to their solution.
Well, actually, just so you know, she was my colon therapist. And I'll tell you a funny story. And we're going back years when I first did the book, and we all know Howard Stern, right? So we could talk about this. He knows I talk about him. I didn't know Howard Stern when this happened. And I specifically remember because I was detoxing his partner, Robin. And I was talking about colonics and coffee enemas. And come on, guys, back then, 15 years ago, we're not where we are today, all right? And so I'm shy, and I'm going on this radio show, and I'm just now learning about colonics, right? Because I'm doing it myself. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what questions this man's going to ask me. I heard his name was Howie, but I didn't really know who he was. And I get on the show, and this is the first person that ever allowed me to start talking about colonics and coffee enemas and the colon and poop and how long it is, and just it desensitized me. And so now I'm that queen, that coffee enema queen. So I'm asked these questions like how long the tube is, and where are you going to put the tube, and is it going to go in the rectum, and how far, what are you going to put on the tube, Dr. Roni? Are you going to put Vaseline, or are you going to put oil? And he just kept going on and on about this tube in the rectum and the colon. And so finally I said to Robin, I said, who is this guy? And why is he asking me all these questions? And do I have to answer them? She goes, oh yeah. You know her, you know that's how she sounds. When I answered the question, I tried to be serious. I'm looking at his guys over here, and they're laughing at me. finally I says, I can't do this anymore with him. The next day, when I got off that radio show, I'm not kidding you, I believe the world knew about colonics and coffee enemas and how bad your people all over the country was putting in the internet colonics, coffee enemas, Dr. Roni, and what's going on here because of Howard Stern. I believe he was the beginning of me coming out of my shell talking about colonics. So I'm now shy because I'm going to have to get colonics because I believed in it so much. I would go to New York and this one lady, they were whispering about me and they were saying things like, that's that lady, right? So when I met Dr. Romunda, I was like so excited because now I'm thinking I got my own private colonic therapist. She's like me. Well, she's going to be private about me. She's going to teach me all about the colon. You got to remember, I was a naturopathic holistic doctor learning about the colon. We all have our specialty. And I'm writing books on detoxification. And the first thing I learned that scared me was death starts in the colon. Remember they said that, Romunda? Death starts in the colon. Now I got to learn about this because now I got to go out and teach it because Howard Stern put me out there and I'm writing this book and now I got to learn. What I learned was we ate so much processed food that the major functioning of our colon is called peristalsis, which basically means it moves the contents in the colon along the canal that's 5 feet long approximately. It could no longer do that because of the process. We weren't made to eat processed food. We're supposed to eat natural foods that occur in the earth, like vegetables and fruits and seeds and good oils, essential fatty acids. And they call it essential fatty acids because we're supposed to be doing it, right? And essential protein is essential because we can't live without it. But what were we doing? The complete opposite, junk food, processed food. So we were living in a world of compromised colon. Our colon wasn't working anymore. And we didn't know about this. And so I had to tell everybody, hey, guys, colon cancer is on the rise. You're very toxic and you can't move nutrients into your cellular wall. You can't get nutrients there. Therefore, we are living in the land of the plenty. We're living in the land of the plenty, but we are starving, okay? And that even further breaks down the ability for our colon to work. So yeah, cancer is on the rise, diverticulitis is on the rise, and all of these colon conditions were on the rise, but our allopathic medical doctors weren't telling us. They were giving us colace and laxatives and all kinds of drugs, which further compromised the health of our colon. So now let's fast forward 10 years. Now we find out we have no flora in our colon, which basically means now we need probiotics, prebiotics, we need enzymes. We need a lot of things in order to make our colon work because we did it to ourselves. We gave ourselves processed food, our colon stopped working and became a bag, a long, long tube that wasn't working. And so we weren't getting the nutrients, number one. We weren't getting the right flora, number two. And it became very lazy. And that created obesity, and that created a lot of things that are happening to us right now, like diabetes, if we weren't absorbing the right nutrients, high blood pressure because we weren't getting the right minerals. All of it created a huge population of chronic illness. And that's why they said death starts in the colon. So now we got to go back. We got to put the enzymes there. We got to put that back, the prebiotics. We got to put some transfer factor in there to balance out things. We have to increase our mineral status. We got to now put those things back that we did away with ourselves because of the processed foods.
Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but, you know, when my kids were little, I did have a pediatrician that would prescribe antibiotics for everything. And me as a mom, a young mom in my, early 20s, I didn't know any better. I would give my kid every month she got sick, or my son, and basically she was sick all the time because of antibiotic use. It was overly prescribed. And now I know better, right? I replenish their microflora with good probiotics and prebiotics and diversity amount of good microbes. If you've taken antibiotics, that's basically what you need to do, because otherwise you're going to stay sick. But also, one other thing, I did test my son for food allergies. And from my perspective with my doctor, I was tested for food allergies too. And, you know, he told me I had a leaky gut. And again, you know, it's, you know, something you need to do to determine whether or not you're going to fix it and how to fix it. So food allergy, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but leaky gut does lead to food allergies or food intolerances. And that could be a factor in that. And it's a gut-brain connection. When my husband he like, let's say he gets antibiotics for whatever reason, I can tell right away up here, it changes him. It changes him because kind of he's more stressed. So, you know, you have to replenish those gut microbes in every way possible, and find a good probiotic with a prebiotic. And now they're talking with, I don't know, what would you recommend as far as that goes? Any Dr. Roni or Dr. Romunda, what would you recommend as far as replenishing a good microbe in your gut after you basically deplete your microbes?
I have studied so many products, probiotics and prebiotics. It's just literally, I could write a book on all of them that I experienced. The reason why I like the 4 Life ones was because it lives in your colon for a long time. You know, we all know about expensive urine, right? We know about supplements. You pay for what you get. Like, we realize that if sometimes you can drink some nutrients, what they say is very good vitamins, and you go and you pee it out. You can see it in the toilet. You can even smell it, for Christ's sake. So we have to get used to the fact that not all probiotics are created equal. And I believe that the 4 Life, and the reason why I fell in love with their prebiotics, is because it lives in your colon all day long. Okay. And that's what we need. Otherwise, if you go and get a cheap version, you got to be taking it all day long, and some of it don't do anything. And, you know, and like I said, it just started in the last 20 years. It became really popular, and it became, probiotics and prebiotics became really very popular because the incident of candida, and which they didn't like to talk about. We know that antibiotics, anti means antibiotics kill probiotics. Okay, so you have to put it back, but they weren't putting it back when your kids were growing up. That's why they were getting sick a lot. You know, if you, God forbid, if you said to them, can you give me some probiotics, or you're giving me antibiotics, they wouldn't want to see you anymore back then. But now they're getting used to that now. So that's what this whole group is about. We have to speak up. We have to let our doctors, our allopathic doctors, be our friend. And if they can't be our friend and listen to us, we got to find a new one, guys. That's the bottom line.
Always know that you have the authority to speak. A lot of times we go and we accept things instead of voicing our opinion about things. We go in there and they be like, oh, I walk down the street. You could have walked down the street and you sit in a chair and your blood pressure could be elevated. Instead of them saying, you know what, let me just let you sit for a moment, they go check your blood pressure. Or they say, oh, your family, it runs in your family gene. You know, and then they don't even ask you about you. I tricked the doctor one time when they said it to me. I said, well, I'm adopted. He's like, huh? You look dog crazy. He was like, so how my stuff gonna be like that? He was like, oh, this not your. I said, see, that's the problem, y'all. You know, sometimes they like to play that mind game with people because they think you don't know nothing. Let them change your chart. Everything in your chart has negativity. Start changing it with some positive. Say, well, if you want to put something on my chart, this is what I've been doing. I walked 5 miles today, or I walked 2 or 3 miles today. I'm taking my supplements. I went to the, I started swimming lessons. Start letting them put that in your chart. When you start putting life in your chart, it overrides the death conversations.
That's right.
You start putting life in your chart and you walk with life, with the authority that God has given you. They can't come to you with the death talk. They got to come with you with life talk, because you're not walking in there crazy. You're walking in there because you have to speak up for yourself. So you have permission to speak, but you would never knew the authority that you had to do so, because you was afraid of what they're going to say to you. Don't be afraid. This is your walk. This is your own. So you got to walk in there and know that what you know for yourself. If they say, I want you to take this, and you know how you feel when you take it, you say, Doc, I can't take that anymore. We got to find another solution. Or let me work on something and let me see how it works. And then I'll come back to you for my results.
I want to say thank you, everybody, for a great evening tonight. Thank you, everybody, with their great questions. And please join us live. This is a great opportunity for you to not only have an opportunity to meet the guest speakers of the evening. We actually open up the room a few minutes early, so you get to talk to Dr. Roni, Gabriela, the guest speaker, ask us some private questions. This is an opportunity for you to get to know each other. And then we go live on Facebook a few minutes after the fact. So it's a nice opportunity to get a sneak peek of meeting the guests. And thank you, Dr. Romunda. You were a pleasure. And I was honored to have you this evening. And again, if you want to find her, gut health expert Romunda at gmail.com. All right. Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you as always.